What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls related video referring to a player that really impressed against the Utah Jazz and someone that I believe deserves a little bit more opportunities in future games for the Chicago Bulls this regular season, and his name is Tony Bradley. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Tony Bradley and how impressive has he been for the Chicago Bulls. Now, this was his first meaningful game in the Utah Jazz game. Obviously, he did have a little bit of garbage time minutes against the Pelicans, I believe it was, but he did make a really big impact in terms of the game against the Utah Jazz. He had a few blocks in there, got some solid rebounds, got a shot in as well, and it was just a solid player. Now, stats may not show that Tony Bradley was an immense player for the Chicago Bulls this game against the Utah Jazz, but something that did show that is his plus minus for the Chicago Bulls. I believe he had the highest plus minus on the team, which means he definitely made the biggest impact, or the Bulls team in general made the biggest impact while he was on. It's definitely something that we should consider moving forward, as again, we do struggle in a lot of areas in terms of the defensive end, and mainly in interior defense, dribble penetration, and of course rim protection and rebounding. Four things there the Chicago Bulls do struggle with. And although Tony Bradley, I don't think fixes all these issues, they definitely help in relation to some of these issues. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be going after someone in the future or going after certain players if need be, if the issue still present itself. However, I think we saw against the Utah Jazz that some of these issues might not be as big of issues if Tony Bradley gets a little bit more time. So, this is the question that I present to you guys, ladies and gentlemen, today. What do you guys think about Tony Bradley potentially getting more game time for this team? Does he deserve it? Obviously, he was playing hurt. He got hurt in preseason. He kind of was still hurt in the regular season, so we didn't see much of him. And maybe it was a cautious decision to keep him away from getting injured again, or just maybe it was a tactical decision by Billy Donovan that he's now come to terms with that may not be the smartest idea to keep him out of the rotation. It goes to say that depending on the lineup, depending on the team that we play, does depend obviously on the lineup that we choose. For example, with the Utah Jazz, they had Rudy Gobert and they had Hassan Whiteside on that team. Two really big rim protecting centers that can definitely bully other centers if you play small ball. If you played Alize Johnson at the center position for the Chicago Bulls this time around, maybe there would be a little bit of a different story in terms of the way that the game was played, and maybe Hassan Whiteside gets a little bit better opportunities. Maybe Rudy Gobert gets a little bit better opportunities than what we saw if Tony Bradley didn't play. Teams like the Warriors, for example, the Warriors are obviously a team that does like to play small ball in many ways. Maybe Alize Johnson would work there over Tony Bradley just because of the way that they play. It goes to show the systems do matter and rotation does matter. And as you can see, the system does matter for a team. Now, I will eventually make a video about Derrick Jones Jr. and his potential to get more game time in the future. But I did want to talk about Tony Bradley because I do feel like in this circumstance, he is probably the most important player to talk about, because with Derrick Jones Jr., you do have obviously your weaknesses and your strengths with him. But with Tony Bradley, he does fix the size issue that we're talking about. I believe he's the tallest player on the team, as a matter of fact, and he is someone that's impressed. Now, I don't know if this is going to be consistently going down the line with Tony Bradley. Are we going to see the best out of him every single night? Are we going to see games where he struggles? Who really knows? And obviously, again, depending on the team that we face on given nights, we will find out those problems or those solutions, whatever the case may be. But with Tony Bradley, what we saw from the Utah Jazz game that I was very impressed with, obviously, was his ability to make an impact in such a short amount of time. Also, his ability to guard smaller players. I think the Utah Jazz head coach said that was one of his biggest strengths in terms of being able to switch onto guards and guard smaller players. Obviously, it won't always be the best idea to do that, but it's definitely not a weakness of his to guard the perimeter in many ways and to guard smaller players when it comes to driving to the rim and obviously the perimeter, which is fantastic to see because we do have that weakness in the center position. We also saw a lot of blitz from the Chicago Bulls in terms of screens. It wasn't always the center playing down on the screen, which allowed mid-ranges, allowed easy shots in the paint, and even potentially if plays went under the screen, allows for three-pointers. It didn't allow that to happen against the Utah Jazz, and Tony Bradley was a big part of that, which I'm very impressed by as well. So with all these things mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe Tony Bradley is the guy that we should be going with in the future. And that doesn't mean Alize Johnson does not deserve a spot on this team. In fact, quite the opposite. I've already talked about Alize Johnson and my belief that he should be playing as a power forward for this team. And although I might not get my wish, and I completely understand that the coaching staff may see things differently to me, I definitely want to bring this in as Alize should play as the power forward, so we're not losing any rebounding issues. Again, with Alize and Tony Bradley in the bench unit, I feel like our rebounding is going to be 10 times better than what it is right now. Even if you put Alize at times with Nikola Vucevic, I definitely see our rebounding issues not being as bad with him on the floor. And we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting concept looking at Tony Bradley. And he's definitely one to keep an eye on in relation to the Chicago Bulls and specifically in future games. I think he's become a fan favorite pretty instantly with this team just based on his last performance alone. The biggest win of our season, and he was the most impactful player. So many people are coming around and starting to like what he can bring for this team. He already worked us last year when he was on the Philadelphia 76ers, and now it looks like he could potentially do some damaging things for our team against other opponents. We'll wait and see, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to keep this video short and sweet for you guys today. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you enjoyed the video about Tony Bradley. At the end of the day, small sample size, as I mentioned again. As much as we could like to talk about, he's the next guy, he should get more minutes. It's only one game, and he's been impressive in that game. So of course I want to see it continue in the next one, and then in the next one, and hopefully it's a consistent thing. But it is a small sample size. So if you guys disagree with what I have to say, then I completely understand, and also let me know in the comments why. Do you think Alize will move to the power forward? Do you think those two are fighting for a center position that maybe on given nights could belong to both of them? We'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. But it's good to have these discussions because at the end of the day, the rotation is key for the Chicago Bulls. And I feel like giving players opportunities at multiple positions may just find and unlock the best lineup for this team going forward. So of course, we will keep discussing them in the future. Take care and peace.